you, Mr. Speaker. It's a privilege to speak on this bill, the Airport Cost Recovery for Processing of International Travellers Bill. Mr. Speaker, as has been said before, this bill is designed to have a cost recovery or cost sharing between the government and by the travellers, and the idea is to ensure that our aviation security, biosecurity and customs costs are shared between the government and the travellers. But clearly, Mr. Speaker, the issue is here of biosecurity, not so much the cost, but the biosecurity. And that's where I have a problem with this government. I know the members opposite, those who sit on the Primary Production Select Committee with us, I know their heart is at the right place. But the policies the government is following in relation to biosecurity is questionable, particularly when they cut cost in relation to cutting jobs, 54 frontline jobs, as my colleague said earlier, that they are the frontline jobs. And this government is always saying they want to cut down the backroom jobs and bring it in a more frontline jobs. These were the frontline jobs, 54 jobs they cut. And that does not give a good answer to the question the farmers are asking. And this question was often asked by people who are representing us on various issues in Agriculture Committee and the Primary Production Select Committee, that that this government is not serious enough about biosecurity. And that has come about because we are quite aware of some of the organisms which brought into this country, and in the last year alone there were 400 organisms which came to this country, and that's simply not acceptable that we cut corners and that we cut the biosecurity staff at our airports or at the ports, and particularly with the trade, the cars, the number of cars now going up again, the imported cars, and in relation to the Rugby World Cup, which is coming up. And clearly, we're going to have thousands of people coming in from Australia and from Europe and Asia and from and Latin America. And we really, I personally worry as a scientist, because I know some of these organisms can get in this country and unbeknown to people, they can cause a lot of damage. I mean, this example of PSA in the kiwi fruit recently, I mean, it's cost us about $75 million already, and we don't know how much more it could cost us over time to control something like PSA in our orchards. And in hindsight, we can be very wise, but look, when this government came in, the first thing they did was cut fast forward research funding that we had allocated in the previous government, and a part of that was also designed for researching into areas like biosecurity, because research is very important for us to determine which are the dangerous organisms which can affect our agriculture, be it plants, be it animals, fisheries. We got to guard against all those potential dangerous organisms coming into this country. So, Mr. Speaker, this government, despite its promises that they are looking after biosecurity, but what they're doing is definitely not in keeping with what they show they're going to do. But, Mr. Speaker, we're going to support this bill because the intent of the bill is very clear, and that we want to make sure that any new airports opening up, that they have ability to cost recovery, and as has been said before, that in this bill from the Primary Production Select Committee, we had agreed that there should be a 2-year cost recovery period. But the important thing is that we are going to have thousands of people coming into the country at the Rugby World Cup, and a lot of these people may be coming in the routine flights, and some of these people might be coming in non-routine flights like charters, for example. And we got this smart gate now working, which is, the concept is very good. I agree. And it allows us to get in and out very quickly. But as we said at the time, we are really worried about potential organisms coming through the smart gate. And as my colleague Damien earlier mentioned, that we know that, and we had some of the information provided by the ministry, and given that how many fruits, for example, are brought by some of these passengers, that some of this probably not by design. Well, somewhere they come from, but the point is sometimes very savvy travellers, they come into the country and maybe unbeknown to them, consciously, they bring in some apples or some other fruit, and that's a worry, particularly those that are very regular travellers. And they come through a smart gate, and the worry is that unless we have the biosecurity side of things covered, we could have potential problems in this country, particularly with a problem like fruit fly and Asian bees and stuff like that could come in this country and create real damage. The other thing I just want to say, Mr. Speaker, is that the committee did have of course we heard only 3 submissions on the issue. I know my colleague has already said that the time was short, at the time getting close to Christmas, and people probably didn't have enough time to submit. We did have 8 submissions, but we did hear 3 submissions, and I agree with the colleagues the other side that there were submissions from the airport, so there were some submissions with combined submissions, and most of them agreed, but there was a concern with the food coming into the country and bringing some organism with that. Clearly, there were issues about what costs should be covered and what should be the aviation security costs, for example, and how long it should take to recover those costs. Of course, as been said already, we agreed on 2-year cost recovery period, which I think is appropriate under the circumstances. But this government, they promise they're going to be looking after the farmers, they're looking after agriculture, but in their deeds, they clearly they're not really interested, whether it's agriculture science, it's a biosecurity. This is really a worry that we're getting all these freight coming in, the cars coming in, and the potential problem with the ballast. These are the issues which, the biosecurity cutting 54 jobs is not going to be helpful. And can I, just say, Mr. Speaker, that I hope this government is taking note of the fact that, in a few months' time, you're going to have thousands of travellers coming in. And I think it's about time that they should be planning. I know this government has got no real plans, but at least for the sake of biosecurity, they should be having some plans ahead of time, and maybe get some more staff trained up, get them ready at our airports and ports, so they can ensure that we don't get any of those organisms, particularly unwanted organisms coming into the country, because that could create a lot of real biosecurity problems in this country. Mr. Speaker, as I said, this government is really not serious about some of these agricultural issues. I know they will be discussing a number of those issues in relation to aquaculture as well, the bills coming up, but, and the biosecurity bill, but you see, it's a piecemeal work. This government never does anything in a sort of a considered way. It's always piecemeal. This is a biosecurity bill, there'll be another biosecurity bill, there'll be, one agriculture bill, there'll be another agriculture bill coming up again. They're never serious about it. There's no long-term plan of thinking about this. There's no, in relation to economy, for example. Where is the plan for this economy? Where are the opportunities for jobs? And they're looking at now. Mr. Speaker, I really got to say to Mr. Arden, he knows very well the number of agricultural students going down in our agriculture university.
Sorry to interrupt the honourable member. His time has expired.